Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And we are rolling too.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Today's guest is Mark Baker. Mark is a skateboarder, entrepreneur, club owner and promoter, health enthusiast, animal lover, and, well, I don't even know where to start. Basically, he's an enigma of positive energy and someone who has led what can only be described as a surreal life. When he literally ran away with the circus at just 9 years old, his intensity and lust for life were obvious early on. Since you like that, Mark?
I love hearing that. It sounds like a movie. Is that my life? Really amazing.
Since then, Mark became Britain's first ever professional skateboarder in the 1970s, a member of the legendary Dogtown and Z-boys, yes, the Californian crew that birthed modern day skateboarding. He toured the world, skateboarding with the likes of Tony Alva. He co-owned and managed legendary nightclubs in New York, the Lotus and 77, and the list goes on. Mark's kindness, sincerity, and innate empathy for others resonates throughout everything he does. And even since arriving to this restaurant, the way he deals with his staff and the customers, I've never seen anything like it.
Well, thank you, Shannon. Do I get on my knees and blow you now or later?
Whatever works for you, brother. Mark has found his happy place in Bali, where he owns and manages Beach Garden Restaurant, Juice Press New York, In the Raw, and he's the ambassador for fun at Omnia nightclub in Uluwatu. And man, I want to know how you get that job. Nowadays, Mark lives with his amazing and beautiful wolf dogs and his cats. Today, he's with me to share his experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Mad Mark Baker, welcome.
Hi, Shannon. How you doing? Well, thanks for taking the time and energy to, come and interview a humble little fella like me.
Mate, it's
gosh, it sounds funny when you lay it out like that. But gosh, it's been a roller coaster of a life, and I ultimately I have to say that landing in Bali and making this home and all the wonderful and beautiful things that Bali gives us and allows us to have as a lifestyle is a perfect culmination to what has certainly been a fucking insane life. My gosh.
If you don't mind me asking, as you get older, are you becoming more like retrospective and reflecting more than ever on how insane your life has been?
I mean, in all honesty, yeah, I've been moving so fast my whole life. And look, everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a story, and some people's stories are rougher and tougher and more insane than others. I don't think I've been so focused on survival my whole fucking life that I don't think I've really had a chance to really sit back and take a deep breath and really look at how crazy it's all been. All I know is that I was a young kid. My dad died when I was really young. In fact, everyone died when I was really young. And I was left pretty much alone to my own devices when I was an 8-year-old kid. And since 8, I've been fighting for survival.
In what way?
I mean, where does your next meal come from? How do you handle yourself when you're in a? I mean, gosh, where do we go back? So let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to. I was born in Brighton, England. Brighton is a pretty mixed and rough and tough town. It's the reputation of Brighton is it's full of queers, peers, and racketeers, and one way or another, you learn to handle yourself on the streets of Brighton. And there's two roads you can go. You can go on and up, or you go to jail, or you die, and that's really the reality of it. And I was very fortunate that I got a couple of breaks that allowed me to break out of Brighton and not end up in the typical situation of going to jail or dying or whatever, which is what most of my friends have done, and get a break. And skateboarding gave me that break. That's it. It's about survival.
When you were growing up in Brighton, and I mean, just from what you've just said then about your father passing away at an early age, were you an early child, or?
I wasn't. I had a brother. He was he was 5 years older than me, but it was just. Gosh, man, like I said, everyone's got a story, and my story was a complicated one. I was. My dad died. Everyone else in the family died. My brother was 5 years older than me. And, he had his own challenges. For me, I was left alone when I was very young, when I was 8, 9 years old. And, without going into graphic detail, when you've got an 8 or 9 year old boy on his own in a town like Brighton, you learn to survive quick. There are good people around, there are bad characters around. For me, a circus came to town. And I joined, they came in, I worked for the circus.
That's amazing.
And when the circus left, I fucking went with it.
Dude, I've got to know, what kind of job do they give an 8 or 9 year old in a circus?
Well,
cleaning the lion's den or some shit? I don't know.
No, I was cleaning up a lot of lion shit, that's for sure. But no, I was dressed up as a clown or a gorilla.
Ah, okay.
This insane guy called Keith stuck me on top of a van that was driving around Brighton with the music blaring, and I was dressed in a monkey suit. I think it was 1974, and we had a heat wave that summer, so it was 90 degrees, which is unusual for England. And I was dressed in a monkey suit, and the music blaring, and I was shouting and jumping off this. They put me on the roof of a van that was driving around with the music blaring, saying the circus is coming to town. And I guess that was early days experience for the business of promotion, which served me well in future.
Yeah, and so your mother must have been pretty.
My mother
worried?
had nothing to say. I think she had more breakdowns than the fucking AA.
Okay.
And she just couldn't deal. So I was pretty strong-willed, and I learned to hustle at an early age.
Yeah.
I mean, I was.
Was school part of your story?
I never went to school.
Wow.
I'd done a few months here, but I kept getting kicked out. And back in the early days of England, they didn't have Adderall or all those focus drugs they have these days. I was just that fucking problem kid.
I think you dodged a bullet there. I didn't
dodge a bullet. I shot a couple of bullets too at that age, but no, it was. I kept getting put in special schools. They were so special they were approved. They just didn't know how to deal with kids like me, so they shuffled us all into these special schools. And you've heard of Borstal and all those places, and that just.
Are they detention centres?
Yeah, they were detentions. They were juvie centres. I don't know what you call them in Australia, but
same thing.
Well, I wasn't a bad kid. I was just that kid that craved attention. And there was nobody around to supervise me, so I learned. So if nobody else was going to provide, I had to provide for myself. And at the same time, you still. It doesn't matter how rough and tough and knowledgeable you are. And I was walking around. I was 8 years old. I was carrying a .22 back in the day, and I was using it too. But at the same, I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't. Everyone in authority just couldn't deal, so they just shuffled us off to institutions and places like that, and that just made me more rebellious at authority. But with all my heart, deep down, I wasn't a bad kid. I never.
Would you mind me asking this question? Were you scared? Were you a scared kid?
Yeah,
because you were so thrown.
I was confused.
Maybe no father, and just scared because you knew you had no one else to really count on, which would be logical.
Absolutely, but at some point you go into autopilot, and look, kids being subjected to physical, mental, psychological abuse is nothing new. I always felt sorry for girls who had their mental, physical, and psychological abuse was normally from family members. For me, it was easy. I had a bunch of strangers that saw a kid on his own who just had to fend for himself. So after a while, everyone in authority became. I didn't have any respect for authority because all you motherfuckers was just trying to take advantage. So after a while, I was like, what, I can play your game. So I learned to hustle when I was young. And I had a real problem with authority, but at the same time I had a good heart, I did my best. But it was rough and tough, no doubt about it, especially when I was traveling with the circus. And you got to imagine that, back in the back in the 70s, you know, you had two touring rough cruiser people. You had the fair boys, which were the pikeys, and you had the circus boys, which were the ring boys. And every time we'd meet in a big city or a big town, we'd all be going at it. So people were getting killed and this and that. And I was 9 years old and I was carrying a gun, and it was ridiculous.
Times have changed, eh?
Well, thank God they don't use animals in circus anymore.
Yeah.
Back then it was acceptable. So I was, like I said, I was cleaning up a lot of lion shit and hanging out with elephants and dressing up as a clown and shooting people and all the rest of it. But now, you know, live animals in circus is not acceptable, and times are changing. And now you've got Cirque du Soleil. Kumbaya.
Yeah, and they do amazing things. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. Like, when I first had this desire to start the podcast, which was something I wanted to do for years and years, I was like, okay, I'm only talking to skateboarders and surfers because that's all I really know about. And really,
how old are you?
I'm 42.
So 42, and I'm 57 now. Who were your skate heroes when you were growing up?
Oh man, I was the Powell Peralta days.
Stacey Peralta.
Yeah. Did you get to meet Stacey?
Of course, Stacey was.
What was he
Stacey
like?
was part of the Dogtown crew.
Yeah.
And look, you know, there's a movie out there with Heath Ledger. Heath, bless him.
Yeah.
He played Jay in Stacey's version.
The Dogtown and Z-boys
of
movie.
Dogtown and Z-boys.
Yeah.
I won't get into that because I don't want to diss on Stacey, and I love Stacey and all the and God bless Heath, he was a good friend. But the real story was the documentary that was narrated by Sean Penn.
Yes.
That really showed the complications and the complexity of what was going on at that time. And let's jump to that because, you know, aside from all the bad rough tumble and all the terrible things that happened to me as a kid, I was lucky. You know, skateboarding came along. All the skateboard magazine had pictures of Tony Alva, Mad Dog Alva, Jay Adams, Jimmy Plumer, Jim Muir, Wesley Humpston, Steve Olson, all those guys. They were the original, and they ignited a movement and captivated the imagination of kids, of rebellious kids across the planet. Let's make no mistake about that. The pictures in Skateboard magazine that Warren Bolster, Jim Goodrich, Win Miller, Craig Fireman, all those guys, those you got to imagine that was what was going on in California. Look, I'm getting fucking goosebumps while I'm talking to you. But we were every kid on the planet except Norway and Australia was way out there. Used to wait by the hour for Skateboard magazine to come.
I was the same.
And we would look at them in their hats, and they were skating. Yeah. They were skating in swimming pools. We would put up ramps against walls and hang out. Skateboarding captured the imagination of every rebellious kid on the planet.
Yeah.
And I was lucky that where I was at that point, after having been expelled or released from God knows how many schools and detention centers and postals and whatever, I found a passion, as did many, many kids. And that passion, instead of us like going out and thieving and robbing and doing all that bad stuff, we focused all our energy on skateboarding. And the Dogtown guys were our heroes. Those pictures of the sun, the California lifestyle, and the bad boys of Dogtown were our absolute fucking heroes. And then the story goes on where we eventually met, and we go from there, you know.
It's amazing. And like when I hear those things, I mean, I'm a child of divorce.
Okay. Tougher than tougher than being a child of dead parents, because you have actually, I got only good memories about you know my relations. Even if they're dead, I can only think good of divorced parents. It must be very tough, and I feel for that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and actually now you mention it, yeah, because it's hard to find closure sometimes, but you do grieve in a different way.
Yes.
And all my crew of friends, like I feel like with skateboarding, the cycle just kept repeating from decade to decade. So your generation was, you know, the Dogtown boys, and then I guess my generation was like, I mean, I was just on the back of like Christian Hossoy's,
Christian
and Tony Hawk, and then like Powell Peralta was just starting. I mean, the first movie I ever seen was Future Primitive, and then Public Domain by the Bones Brigade and all that.
Exactly. Well, let's go there then, because okay, so the original crew that became legendary was Tony Alva, Mad Dog Tony, Jay Adams, Jimmy, all those guys, Westinghouse,
Billy
Billy Huron, all those Venice boys, they were the rebellious arm of skateboarding. Stacy, bless him, was part of that crew, but he wasn't a bad boy. Bad, when we say bad, none of the guys were bad, but Stacy was the good guy, bad guy. And, and the movie and the documentary kind of show that, even though they're both produced by Stacy, who has his own spin on it. And again, I'm not going to go there because I love him and respect him. Yeah. And he's had a tough life of his own. But you're talking about street kids that could have potentially, not just them, they were a catalyst across the world for kids that could have gone really into trouble but found a passion for something and put all their passion. So they were on the streets. We were all on the streets, but we put our passion into skateboarding. Yeah. So then, you had a couple that were more media savvy than other. Tony Alva was the most media savvy of all of them. He was my fucking hero. He's still my fucking hero.
Yeah.
And we became best friends, and I lived with Tony and toured with him. But when skateboarding, we thought that skateboarding would never end. We were rock stars. Well, they were rock stars, and then I became one of those rock stars. And we thought skateboarding would never end. And then when skateboarding ended, most of us got into trouble again. So you've got all the, Jay went to jail. He was a V13 Vato Venice gangster. We were all rolling with bad guys, but skateboarding took our mind off of the bad stuff. Stacy was always a good guy, and he's the only one who parlayed that into a real business. He started Bones Brigade, Power Per Hour. He's the only motherfucker that made money, and he stepped aside from his own personal complications, of which I'm sure Stacy had many, including some tragedy with his son. But he started he was the one who made it a real business. You've got to understand, we were getting used and abused by skate companies. We were selling millions of skateboards, millions of wheels, boards. We were being whored up the fucking wazoo. But Stacy was smart enough to start a company and actually made a lot of money from it. He's the only one.
Sorry.
It's okay, babe. Go for it. Pimp me out, babe. Pimp me out.
Yeah, and when you say that stuff, sorry, I was just taking a photo of you, and that's something I should have mentioned at the start of the podcast.
Film, baby. Pimp me out. It's not my first time.
No, but, I'm just in awe. But when you guys were skating and doing all that stuff, did you realise how legendary it was at the time?
No, absolutely not.
Were you just, I'll give an
example. What is the biggest? Okay, let's go back to Vans. Vans tennis shoes. They were a tennis shoe. They were great. They were white in the beginning. They were gay, but when you wore them a couple of times, the crepe sole would allow you to feel the skateboard underneath you.
Yeah.
So Vans, that started off as this company, and then I think somewhere between the legend of Tony painting those gay white shoes into blue and red and black and white, and I was in his apartment when we were living together in Venice. And we were painting those shoes different colors, and then of course every kid on the fucking planet wanted to paint their shoes different colors, and then Vans came out with every color under Vans is probably the biggest skateboard, biggest, you're wearing them, the biggest fucking shoe on the planet. And then when every time the board followed us down the bowl and smashed us in the ankle, they invented the high top. So Vans is a multi how much money did we get paid back in the day?
Yeah,
nothing.
Okay.
We got. I'm not dissing on Vans because I love Vans and Stevie Van.
Is it because you guys were so young?
We had no clue.
You had no clue, but you were getting free skateboards. You're getting paid to travel, and you're like, well, I don't have.
You understand? I was getting paid to skateboard and travel. Are you out of your mind?
Dude,
I never been paid for nothing except when I was robbing them.
But you know that every skateboarder since your generation has been chasing that dream.
Well, hang on. Well,
I entertained it for years.
It was huge. But then skateboarding died. We thought it would never end. We were 16 years old. And let's fast forward a bit, where Tony Alva comes to England. I'm Mad Mark, apparently the best in England and Europe. Mad Dog comes over. They asked, do I want to go on tour? Do I want to go on tour with Tony Alva? The best shit in the fucking woods? Yeah, of course I do. So we went on tour. And it was funny because somebody like Tony, who has, for me, the greatest style, still has the greatest style. He's still my fucking hero. Everyone was saying, Mad Marky's better than him because he's doing bigger aerials or bigger grinders. And you've got to imagine one thing. When we started doing all these tricks, which is 40 years ago.
Dude, it's crazy.
We invented those tricks. It wasn't like And the transitions in the pools were terrible.
Yeah.
And the coping was horrible.
And you were going to vert.
And we'd have to go into a pool with 5,000 kids waiting to see the legends happen, and we had to put on a show. But the pools were terrible, and especially in Europe, and we had to put on a show. And there's and there wasn't video back then, but now those videos are like coming out on social media.
I've seen a couple of you skateboarding,
and I got to tell you, I'm sitting there laughing my ass off because like now when you've got, with respect to all the kids now who are doing like 8-foot aerials, like 360 flips, hand plants, rock and rolls, front side, back side roll. We invented all that shit, okay? That was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So in 40 years, and I'm not dissing ads, I've got mad respect for Tony Hawk and all those, and the Bones Brigade and the Ollie and all those tricks they were doing. We took skateboarding from horizontal to vertical, and it cost us untold amounts of broken bones, and I have to take like fucking 5 Advil and 3 painkillers. I can't even wipe my ass when it's cold. I can't even get up in the morning without like 5 pills and a painkiller. So
but you guys were laying the foundations, and you didn't know what was possible. Like I was at the skate park on Wednesday with some
which one were you at?
With some
Pretty
kids,
Poison?
no, at Amplitude actually. I take some kids there and on Wednesdays, and this kid, he's been skating for a year, and he's doing stuff that I've tried my whole life to do. But the only difference, and I was thinking about it afterwards, and I'm just like, well, firstly, the facilities that kid has grown up in the best skate parks. I mean, when I started skating, it was looking for curb cuts or and then and if we had a jump ramp, like
imagine this: you're a kid on a skateboard and you're skating horizontal, and then you have a ramp, and then you have a pool. You have to invent those tricks. I mean, how the fuck did we invent grinders, aerials, rock and rolls, roll-ins?
Were you mimicking?
No one knew it could be done. So every trick that you see, and of course the young kids have taken it to a whole nother level, and they've gone bigger on aerials and bigger tricks and 367, 20s. Yeah. But in the beginning, no one knew it could be done. It's one thing to watch someone do a trick and make it better when you're on a wooden ramp and beautiful smooth transitions.
Yeah.
You know what? Respect to them. No dissing on them whatsoever. But we didn't know it could be done. Can you imagine how we learnt a foot plant?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why
it was accidental. And we broke everything doing it.
So you must have had to, like, really, a lot of creativity was required.
We were fucking crazy.
Were you mimicking surfing? Was that in the back of your mind?
Surfing. Okay, so now we're getting into another area of skate. Look, this was always my issue with the Bones Brigade and those young kids. When I see Tony Alva skate, he's not going to do the biggest aerial. He's not going to do a fucking hand plant. I've never seen Tony Alva do a hand plant. He'll never do a hand plant. But you put that boy, and if you look at that video that I just put out that someone sent me on Facebook recently, when you watch that fucking guy skate, my God, he's good. My God, his style is so good. I don't want to see a machine go into a pool and do a kickflip hand plant, a frontside rock and roll, a backside rock and roll, an ollie air, this, that, 3. You know, I'm bored. I switch off in a minute. I want to see a guy who's got that surf influence, who just flows, who when he does a micro wheeler, that last wheel is on the edge of the coping. When Dave Hackett does a fucking grinder,
hanging on by a thread.
Oh my God, that guy's body is contorted and he lands it. Yeah. I do not want to see another little machine do kick flip hand plant. Fuck off. Yeah, I want to see a guy who fucking shreds a pool.
Not a robot.
Exactly.
I mean, there's some of
style, baby. Style.
If you look at like modern day skateboarding with the street league stuff, I don't know if you've ever caught any of that. I mean, these guys are so good.
I'm watching them all. Of course, I'm watching them all. I'll give an example. Okay, so I only had a couple of heroes my whole life on skate, but Tony Alva was, and will always be my hero. Even though we become best friends, and when we toured together, people were like, Mark's better than him, because I was doing big. When I look at those videos, when him and I were on tour now, it's night and day. The guy absolutely fucking put me to shame. Steve Olsen, he was the original. He wasn't a Dogtown guy, but he was the good guy. He became skateboarder of the year. He was affiliated with Dogtown, but he was from Huntington Beach, Seal Beach. He's amazing. His kid, Alex Olsen, is now probably one of the greatest skateboarders in the world. Alex was in Bali.
Skates for girl skateboards.
He's a fucking legend. He's a good-looking kid too, his father.
But can I just jump in there, Mark? Like, thing about like Alex Olsen is that
he's
got,
well known.
I mean, he's amazing. He's got like amazing, tricks and whatever. But he's goes back to style. I'm with you. I'm really with you on that one.
Yeah.
For me, my generation, Mark Gonzalez. You probably remember him. Heard of him. But I mean, he's sustained such a long career.
Okay, Christian Hosway.
Christian Hosway's at the same.
Bridges that
style.
gap. It's style. Look, and
hanging on by a thread.
And I'm watching. Look, right now, because I like so much skateboarders over 50, skateboarders under 10. The little kids who are doing it. I really. As an OG, and I say as an original gangster or original grinder, whatever way you look at it,
I like that,
whichever way you want to take it, I'm looking at all the, and I'm watching these skaters on the street. I'm watching them in pools. I'm watching them in the most perfect skate parks that have ever been imagined. And by the way, let me just give a little tidbit that if all goes well at Dreamland in Pachatu, we are about to close the deal and hopefully build the greatest skate park on the southern hemisphere. It's going to be insane. It's not one pool, it's 15 pools. It's 3 full pipes
down near Uluwatu there.
Yep, up in Ulu. So that's a bit of a tidbit there for you. And I've got all the Dogtown boys behind me, and I've got Steve Olsen's my partner on it. So we'll see. Yeah, it's about time. And now we'll move on to the Olympics, where, look, the whole skate world is divided whether the Olympics is good or not good for skating. I'm in the middle. Look, I'm an OG. So
yeah, like growing up, we always used to like talk about it and say, "Oh, imagine."
We were getting arrested for skateboarding.
Imagine if skateboarding was in the Olympics one day.
There's lots of haters.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle.
I'd like to see skateboarders make money. I do.
It's not just about your X Games, which blows away, which is more in tune with what skateboarding is all about. And and there's a big friggin' issue about skateboarding in the Olympics and who's judging those Olympics. They got a bunch of roller skaters apparently like judging the Olympics. I mean, fuck off. But I do see what it is like Indonesia. Let's get back to Bali. There's so many. I go to Pretty Poison. I see some of these kids. And they got the style. They're wearing all skateboarding's influenced everything from fashion to skateboarding to shoes.
Street culture.
Everything, music. Yeah. It's everywhere. And now through social media, of course, all the Dogtown boys are like the anti-heroes. And of course, I'm laughing because, I get respect when I go to a skate park. So does Olsen. And they bang their boards. And I love that. They're giving us respect. But I'm not against the Olympics. If the Olympics can introduce a whole new generation to the sport and introduces sponsorship, and that means thousands or millions of Indonesian kids can now get free skateboards, which we're going to give them all, and go into a skate park and compete at an international level, I think it's a great thing because China's doing it. I think Indonesia's ahead of the curve. So I'm all for every kid across the planet where their parents are like, oh, you're not going to fucking skateboard. It's bad. It's illegal, this and that. You know what? If we can still keep our rebellious side and still have the radical elements with X Games and the bad boys, at the same time, if it introduces a whole bunch of skateboarding is an amazing sport that it'll take kids off the street, keep them out of trouble, whether it's Brazil, whether it's all those like Panama, across the planet. If it does what it did for me and my crew, which kept me out of prison and all the rest of it, fucking God bless it. Put it in the Olympics. Let's introduce money in the sport and get those kids out. There'll always be an angle for the rebellious crowd to keep it legit.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah,
and it gave me a family when I didn't want to be at home.
You bet. And trust me, within the skateboard community, there is a huge issue about skating in the Olympics. It's going to take away from our originality. It's going to be financial, this, that. Yes, it will. It'll affect some of it. But the hard crew that don't want to do it, they'll continue their road and it'll still be street cred and all the rest of it. So I'm on the fence in the middle about it, and it's a big. Right now, it's a big issue in the skateboard community worldwide.
Well, it's happening next year. Like it's coming, and it's just going to be really interesting to watch it all unfold.
It's the same that happened with. Let's look at snowboarding really quickly. Look. Nobody wanted snowboarding in the Olympics. We're a radical-looking lot. Sean White's a really good friend of mine. Wow. We got long hair. Some of them smoke pot. We're not conformists, but what happened with TV ratings and sponsorship was that everyone was getting so fucking bored with the Winter Olympics or watching somebody curling. I mean, record this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? You'd much rather watch Shaun White do a fucking 20-foot aerial out of a half pipe, and that's why the ratings went up, and which is the only reason why skateboarding is now being allowed. So finally, after us being arrested, getting chased by cops, getting put in jail, all the rest of it, skateboarding, they've got to listen to the young generation, because we're dominating not only the skate stuff, we're dominating fashion, we're dominating street style, photography, every angle, and as the cherry on the cake, the original motherfucking gangster OGs is us. So I'm getting a second a second win, and I'm loving it.
Dude, what a legacy. And I guess, like,
yeah, I'm laughing.
As it starts to hit the mainstream, you know, people are going to want to start to dig back into the past, and
they're doing it. So like all this stuff
happening?
Like, yeah, it's epidemic.
I noticed you just had a full article in the New York Times.
Well, it's not just the New York Times. I got a 22-page interview coming out in the best skate mag coming up at the end of the month in Juice Mag.
No way.
And they go back, and all the photographers have dug deep into their archives to come out with stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm laughing because I'm getting a second or third or fourth win.
It's good, man.
But it's not just about me, even though I always try and make it about me. It's you know what, we gave blood for our sport.
Absolutely.
We got paid nothing. We didn't want nothing. We just we were happy to. I was getting paid a pittance to travel around the world skateboarding. It got me out of trouble in Brighton, and it'll do the same thing for the kids in Brazil, Panama, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, across the planet. You know what? And that's a beautiful thing. And us OGs, we're heroes again.
Yeah,
so I'll work with that.
And same with me, like I identify with that. I come from a small...
Even Australia's coming in the mix. I mean, you guys had the Blue Bowl, and it was some funky
the Bondi Bowl.
Yeah, the Bondi Bowl. But I just saw Christian, and I saw videos
Christian
of those.
also?
Yeah, he was blasting. I mean, it's not the best pool on the planet.
No,
if you look at skate parks around the world right now that are absolutely insane.
But the location is so sick. Have you been there?
No, I haven't, but I've seen the videos. What I did see was Christian blast a 7-foot aerial out of that fucking Blue Bowl, and I was just like almost in tears because Christian's an amazing guy. He's had his own challenges.
He has,
and he's a leader. He's an OG, you know.
He is, man.
You bet. And all these, and I love to go to Pretty Poison and I'm not sure about Amplitude. That's a bit like, you know, motocross for me.
Well, it's got the pump track, but it's got a street section.
Respect Amplitude.
They just built a new bowl upstairs.
I saw that,
and they've actually extended it, but it's very street orientated.
Hey, Bali is a surf skate culture.
It is.
It's going to be every kid you see is wearing Vans.
Oh man.
Skateboarding's big. When me and Olsen, can you imagine 2 old geezers go to Pretty Poison and the whole fucking, like, the 400 kids stand up, start banging their boards against the... I was in tears last time I was there. I was so proud.
Oh, man.
Like, and mad, shout out Marie. Mad respect for Marie. That had the, I would say balls, but she's a girl. You know, to fucking put that in place.
So
and those
sick.
kids are... when I see all those people watching the skateboard, and the skateboarders are those long-haired little hipster kids blasting aerials, even if they're not going to land them, they're putting on a show. It's amazing. It made me tear up. I got to tell you, it's wonderful.
So, I've sort of got the feeling, Mark, that you're a high energy person. I've just picked up on that.
You figured?
And I mean, for me, I was the same. Like I think I had ADHD, dyslexia, school.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly.
And school. I mean, skateboarding just gave me this outlet.
There you go.
You know, and then I did same as you, I did get into the partying and the drugs for a period.
Well, they never had Adderall back then. If they'd had Adderall, we probably would have stayed away from the coke and the rest of it.
And it would be accountants or something. But the thing is, like, because I had this passion and I had this new family, it stopped me from going to that next level.
Exactly.
And that's what I really identify with you. And like, so when you're in Brighton,
skateboarding saved my life.
I think it saved mine too, bro.
Yeah.
It did,
and countless others around the planet. Exactly.
It does, and I'm so glad you're saying these things, because I was a bit worried that coming here you were just gonna, you know, talk about. I don't know what, but like I so identify with that, and that's the kind of message I want to send. And thank you for saying that.
Honestly, at 57 years old, and the life I've had, and I got nothing to hide. I got nothing to be ashamed of anymore. You know.
Well, can we go back a little bit? Do you mind? So can we go back to
how far back you want to go?
Well, you're in Brighton, and at what stage did you move to New York? So,
okay, so I've been in and out of schools and blah blah. I guess I'd grown up a little too quickly when I was a kid. So when they tried to put me in schools at 14 or 15, 13, 14, I was just way too far ahead emotionally, physically, experience-wise to be put into a school with kids. So
didn't identify with anyone?
Of course not. And they didn't have Adderall. And we had ADHD and HD and OCD, whatever the fuck they call it. They didn't even have those terms in those days, so I was just that problem kid. Skateboarding came along. I was lucky. I traveled. Skateboarding died. And then I was back in Brighton at 18, 19, 20, wondering what the fuck I was going to do. I got a break. I was about to get in a whole bunch more trouble than I'd already got in. And I was on vacation one year, and I met a bunch of New York guys, 5 guys, who they became my brothers. 2 of them are dead, one of them is in jail, and 2 of them are alive right now. And I made I made the jump to New York. I took a big fucking chance, and I went to New York. I'd done California when I was 15, 16, but I went to New York. And when I went to New York, it was the first night I was there. I was like, "Oh my God, this is it! You know, this is every black sheep on the fucking planet is in one city at one time." And quite by chance, on the door, the first night I was there, on the hottest club in New York, it was called Area. There were like 500 people out. So this is just right after Studio 54 and Andy Warhol and the whole deal. And the first night I was there was an ex-skateboarder called Jules Gayton, who was one of the Benji boys from London. He's another brother. Shout out Jules. He was on the door, and I arrived with like 10 guys, and these guys from New York who were pretty cool, but they weren't that cool. And Jules was like, "Holy fuck, that's Mark Baker in the crowd out there." So he sent the goons out, and 500 people had to fucking move aside. It was like Moses coming in, and I was just like, "Oh bitch, I'm never leaving this fucking city. This is my town." And that started an incredible and complicated and wonderful and terrible relationship with New York, where I stayed for 30 years. I did all kinds of jobs. I could go on for 5 hours, but basically I was debt collecting for the mob. I was importing Rolls Royce and Ferrari cars.
I've got to know, how do you get that job as a debt collector for the mob? I've just got to know. Were you just tough? Good fighter?
Honestly, yeah, of course. I've been handling myself since I'm a kid, but a friend of mine had a company, and he was delivering it. It all started. He was delivering furniture to the roughest neighborhoods in New York: the Bronx, Staten Island, Brooklyn. No-go, Harlem, no-go areas. And my first job, after I had a car import company because I had a Porsche in England, and I got banned from driving, and the cops were chasing me around. So I imported the car into America and sold the car. And then we had furniture. So I was like, I'm not going to go back to England. So let me help. And he was the motherfucker who bankrupted in my company because he smashed all the cars up.
No.
But I ended up working for him as a furniture deliverer for 6 months, and then he expanded the business into jewelry and televisions and this and that. And then of course they weren't paying, so I had to go and get it back. So I'd be lugging those fucking furniture up 16 floors of Harlem, piss-ridden, crack-ridden, gangster fucking, stairwells, and then I'd have to go and get it back.
No way,
So me and this Israeli guy called Ron, bless him, who had the most piercing blue eyes, but he was deadly. Oh my God, this guy was deadly. So sometimes we go into the South Bronx. This is at the beginning of the crack epidemic. So you got the projects, what we call, which is like the bad neighborhood. So we walk in, and we were the only 2 white people, and I'd pull up sometimes in a Porsche that I had, or a Rolls Royce. I had a fucking 45 fucking Magnum here. I had 22 in my shoe. I had a pair of handcuffs and a walkie-talkie. Because we were the only white boys, so we'd walk into the projects and crack was a big deal back then. In those hoods, it was an epidemic of terrible things in the projects, and we'd walk in, Boulder's Brass, and we'd have to be there to pick up, the TV or the jewelry or the, and if they really didn't have any money, I'd put their case. My name was Mr. Sharky. I was Sharky the debt collector.
Why?
It was just a nickname. And at the same time as we was debt collecting, the cops would do these raids every once in a while. So we'd be in the middle of these gunfights.
No
And the whistle
way.
would go up and the horns would go off, and that we'd be hiding under the TVs in the courtyard while they were shooting at each other. I mean, it was fucking nuts. And I got a reputation for being, a pretty badass guy up in the hood. But I was fair, So if they couldn't pay, I'd put their file at the bottom of the pile, and 3 months later we'd go and visit them again. But if they was ripping us off, I'd get you.
like when you reflect upon those times, like we're having a bit of a laugh about it now because it sounds so surreal. You're right.
It was nuts.
Like, however, I'm assuming that those times would have been quite, tumultuous and scary and traumatic and. Yes or no, or you just don't remember?
Absolutely insane.
But you're laughing about it now.
I'm laughing because I survived it. I'm alive.
Do you feel like a survivor?
Absolutely, I've survived my whole life. But real deal. We'd walk in to a project, and you've got to imagine you're looking up at a project which has probably 15 or 16 towers, and each tower. I'm going to ask for another glass of
no
rosé
worries.
right
I'll get
now.
their attention.
We'd walk into a project, and you pull up at the door to the project, of which there's a courtyard, and there's about 25, 30 either Crip Blood, Latin King, everything was gang control. And then you got black-haired, blue-eyed Roan, who's an ex fucking para from Israel who just got out the army.
Okay.
You got your fucking Fabio with his long hair. But I'm packing. Yeah, of course. But I'm packing. I got a piece, and I got handcuffs.
So how were you respected then? I mean, is it
we
because they were scared of you because you
they
guys
weren't
had
scared.
a reputation?
They just couldn't figure us out. So we walk into
They didn't know where you fit.
No,
Yeah.
I got a repo to do on the 16th floor of a project, and I got to the door, and there's 25, 30 guys who are these people kill people in a blink of an eye, and we just looked at them. We walked in, and we were like, bro, we got business to do. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to fuck with your business. We got business to do upstairs. And over time, because we were dealing with so many clients, and my friend Bruno, who is dead now, he went to jail, then he's dead. We were fair, and we got we got a reputation that we weren't scared. Of course I was terrified half the time, but in the middle of the shootouts, we didn't take sides. So we weren't. Everyone was. There's an old expression like yo 5-0 in the house,
Yeah.
5-0 is the cops. We're not cops, but we weren't pussies either, So, a couple of times when they were pulling out, seriously, TVs were coming out the window, shots were getting fired. When the cops come in and they were shooting, we just fucking, we ducked and we dodged, but we never gave, we got street cred. And that extended out to Brooklyn, where Biggie Smalls and all the rappers was out there. I saw fucking, I saw Biggie when he was 18 rapping out in Brooklyn on Flatbush, so...
Did you know Biggie?
Very well, very, very well. I know exactly what business he was doing.
I'm
And
losing
Puffy,
my-
I've done
I'm
Puffy's
losing
tour.
my- What the fuck?
And I think most people who come to New York City, they stay in Manhattan, which is why I kind of laugh about... Not laugh, now I'm laughing. I wasn't necessarily laughing back then. But most people come to New York City and say, oh yeah, I've done New York, I know New York. I'm sorry, I'm going to say the words. You never been in Harlem. You never been to 138th Grand Concourse in the South Bronx.
Through the 80s?
Yeah. 80s. And the crack epidemic was absolutely devastating to those neighborhoods. And we were right there. Look, and I'm not going to say I wasn't. I was participating. I come to a couple of. I did a couple of repos where I had to go through 25, 30 guys, and we're talking Crip Blood. Like Latins, I told you, or full on fucking gangster. And they're like, if you want to, white boy, homie, you want to come in, you got to take a hit on this stem. You know what that means?
I'm guessing taking a hit on a crack pipe.
Fucking, you 5-0.
So they know you're not 5-0.
Yo, white boy, you 5-0.
Yeah.
Prove you ain't 5-0, we'll kill you right here. Seriously.
So hit the crack pipe.
Absolutely, fucking rocking the fucking stem. Boom, crack, clunk, and then boom. Then my day's fucked because now I'm fucking high as a kite.
Yeah.
And I had to juggle that, but after doing that, and then we're all shaking each other, and then we start pulling out. I'll be honest here. You're pulling out your pieces. Now you got a fucking this. I got a 45. I got a 22 in my fucking shoe. They didn't know what to make of us, but I was hitting them on the same level, so we was good, And they also knew that, look, if you're ripping us off and you was cheating the company, I'll find you. I'll get you.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have the money, I'll give you my own fucking money. Yeah. So we always did the right thing, So
there's a lot of people suffering, but there's a lot of people making money. There's a lot. I guess when there's a lot of money flowing around,
we were just like we weren't that white guy that was coming in and pillaging and plundering, and we weren't 5-0. We ain't cops, but we were there to do business, and they respected that. So
So when did the nightclub work start? Were you already, if you don't mind me asking, were you already in that scene, or?
Well, it's a great story,
mate.
Amongst many of them. So after all of this is going on and blah blah blah, and there was a hot place on Columbus Avenue called Cafe Pacifico, and I used to pull up in a Rolls Royce or a Ferrari. We couldn't afford the gas. I was siphoning petrol from people's cars to pay for the fucking gas.
No way, dude.
Of course. But every walk in and we'd get the best table, and we were heroes at Cafe Pacifico with Dave Bowie and Mick Jagger and all the rest of them. And then, of course, we lost it all because my partner bankrupted everything. And then one day I was like, I come to the owner, this incredible woman called Gloria DeMann, who was the queen of Fire Island, and she had a big Italian family, and her kids were Italian, and we got close. We don't have to get into details about that, but where was I going with this one? So people,
the nightclub scene.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so every night after work, we had the hottest restaurant. I was a waiter. I'd never had a job in my life, but I was a waiter. And every table.
I can't imagine you as a waiter, dude.
I was a great waiter. I was I was like, and people would be snapping their fingers and like whistling at me. I'm like, and I think I had to wear like pink tights, and I was look like it was 80s on. It was the 80s in Europe. I think Bruce Willis was a bartender.
Yeah.
And Mariah Carey was a waitress for like 2 weeks till I fired her because she was a terrible waitress. I was like, girl, you should stick with singing. You know what I'm saying? Vin Diesel was my security guard at Tunnel.
Before he was Vin Diesel.
Dude,
because the 80s was the
Keir
time.
Kirby from D-Light was my sister at my waitress. We'd have a meltdown every fucking week.
Wasn't the 80s when New York was the most like affluent? Like there's so much money. Like the stock market was booming. It was that real time of just complete.
It was that and the crack.
Well, that's what comes.
It was pink. It was colourful. It was bright lights, big city.
Yeah.
And what we would do is we'd be out 7 nights a week, and all the young cops and young fire chiefs and young wannabe political guys were at the Pacifico, and I took care of everybody. And of course, over the years, they grew, that rookie cop became chief of police, and that fucking underboss became the big boss of the fucking one of the 5 families, and so over the years,
connected.
You can't even imagine how connected we were.
Yeah.
From not just from the obvious, but from the hoods, from the gangsters, from the rappers, from every. I mean, I was rapping with Biggie when he was like wearing a fucking lumber jacket, out in Brooklyn, and then of course Run DMC, Russ, all this. I mean, I just managed to get. I guess from a childhood, when my dad died, I was like, I don't want to miss a minute.
Gotcha.
I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
I want to live every and New York was a city that was alive 24/7.
Yeah.
And I was doing 24/7 for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So and that was sometimes fueled with booze, sometimes fueled with drugs, sometimes we never stopped. I was out 7 nights a week networking from here, there, uptown, downtown, east side, west side, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, fucking Harlem, Brooklyn, Bronx, everywhere. I was everywhere.
How did you sustain that lifestyle for 20
Cocaine.
years? Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. A zest for life.
Zest for life, but I mean, you must have had periods where you just got burnt out on it for sure.
Oh, every week, every other day. But it was just
every Monday and then start again next Friday.
Look, my dad died when he was young, and I always felt in my heart that at any moment something would happen and I would die, and I just wanted to make sure done as much as I could before I was gone. Everything,
do you
without
still have
getting
that?
all like blah blah. Everything I ever loved or ever liked or ever wanted to do got taken away. You know. So I just like I never thought I'd make it to 20. I never thought I'd make it to 30. Absolutely never thought I'd make it to 40. And 50 and beyond was just not even on the radar. So I lived every minute. And in New York City, it was. I don't think it is anymore, but it was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week city. So I just did it all. I worked. I went downtown all night long. I got up in the morning, went to work at 7. I did everything, and I networked New York, and I had these relationships that you could never. You would never have those relationships. You can't. How do you have a relationship with a gangster in the South Bronx? How do you have a relationship with the fucking Gambinos? How do you have a relationship with the rappers out in Brooklyn? But I did it. And not only that, when I had my clubs and I started my first clubs, and I'm going to tell you a funny story about the first party, was I always took care of everyone. And I always treated...
Why? Why did you feel like that?
I'm a people pleaser. Who knows? I want to be loved. I don't know. It was just... But
I don't want to overanalyze it, but that was part of your personality?
Absolutely. If you're in my house, I'm going to take care of you. But the funniest one was when I did my first one. So I'm working as a waiter. I'm Fritz the German. I'm Francois the French. I'm Mark from fucking England.
Okay.
I'm Paddy from Ireland. I put on a different accent for every fucking table.
A shapeshifter.
I was just having fun with the tables. If I'm going to be a waiter, I'm going to have fun with you. But if you clicked or whistled at me, I had a Rolls Royce outside. And then if you were a real dick, I put Vicine in your drink and you'd shit your pants before you left the restaurant. I had some really nasty, horrible bit. I had one fucking horrible fuck that smacked his wife in the restaurant and smacked his kid and then tip nothing. So I emptied a whole can of bottle of Vicine in his pants.
So like a laxative?
Oh, absolutely. He didn't even reach the stairs. His whole guts came out on the floor. I was like, I'm sorry. I don't. But yeah, he dropped his guts before he reached the front door, and we were all laughing. Wow. Anyway, so I'm so hot. I'm so cool. I know everybody in New York. I know downtown, uptown. I'm fucking, whatever. I'm gonna throw a party. So Woody from the Rolling Stones had a club on the Lower East Side, and he was like, I got this club, and you're a really good guy. Do you want to do a party? I'm like, do a party? Of course I can do a party. How big's your club? How many people can we get? And it was a rainy Monday night, and that was the only night that he would want me to promote, because nobody else was coming there. Like a schmuck, I was like, yeah, fuck, I'll do it. I'll fill it. I'm Mark. I'm fabulous. So I printed 2,000 flyers and dropped them all over Manhattan. And I was like, no, bro, there's going to be so many people. You need to get extra security, barricades, block off the whole block, 1st Avenue to 2nd Avenue, 9th Street, East, West. You got to... seriously, I'm going to bring 1,000 people here on a Monday. Is
it safe to say if someone wanted to have a party, they were looking for you, they'd get you to organise it?
Oh, no, absolutely not. This was my first party ever.
Oh, okay, this is the first one.
I was a fabulous waiter who was just everywhere.
Right.
And this was my first party, so I'm like, okay, Woody, let me do the party. And so I was so convinced that so many people were going to come, and it was a rainy Monday night. I think it was in February or something. So I'm like, I got DJ. I made them put barricades.
So February's cold.
Oh. It's Monday, rainy night, Manhattan.
Okay, right.
I had them put barricades all the way up the block. I thought 1,000 people were going to show up. So 10 o'clock I go down, I got my DJ. I'm in the DJ booth. No one's there yet. And it was 10 o'clock and it was 11 o'clock. No. And it was 11:30, and by now I'm under the DJ booth. I'm hiding because there were tumbleweeds in the club. No one was there, and 1 or 2 people that were my diehard friends walked in, and is Mark here? I could not face them. I think it was probably other than some terrible things in childhood, that was the worst moment of my life. Nobody showed up. I think 10 people showed up.
Did you have I don't want to get again.
Say,
I don't know. I just
spit
want
it out,
to say,
basically.
like, did you have a feeling of like not being good enough, not maybe worthless?
Oh, I think that's an understatement.
Yeah.
I think absolute fucking loser, idiot.
Well, here's a question
Like
for you.
nobody likes me. What a fucking dummy. That's probably more like it.
Have those feelings driven you for a lot of your life?
Well, yeah, of course. You know, from
I
childhood.
mean, I think they drive a lot of people.
Absolutely. I'll get, the only comparison I can give is most people will never understand what it's like to throw a party, except imagine when you male, female, young, old, you're going to do a dinner party, and you're doing a dinner party at your house, and you invite people. Imagine the stress that most people go through to throw a dinner party at your house. Just imagine that.
For sure.
Who you invite, who shows up. You're having a birthday party. You invite people. People come, people don't come, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Most people I know go into fucking like Valium withdrawals over having a dinner party at their house. Now imagine, multiply that by about 1,000,
Wow.
and do that 5 nights a week. That's what my life was. And that moment where I was under the DJ booth, I could have crawled into a matchbox. I felt my whole life was worthless. I felt like everything I thought I knew and everyone I thought I knew, I thought, my God, you are such a fucking loser. And that was my first party. But it never happened again.
So were you just like, that's never happening again?
It's
You
never
learnt your lesson?
gonna happen again.
And then it was just
I went back to
on.
the drawing board.
Then you were on.
I got a reality check that I wasn't as fucking fabulous as I thought I
Yeah.
was. But it wasn't just that about who I knew. What it was that in order to do a good party or a good event, I've always compared it to having a pizza. You can have 16 pieces of a pizza. One is the venue, one is the timing, one is the day of the week, one is the DJ, one is the decoration, one is the invite, the evite, whatever. I remember back then, we didn't have social media where you can just blast them in. I had fucking fax machines and supermodels in their panties, faxing out invites on Friday. Friday was fax out day. I never, ever, ever made that mistake again, because I never in my entire life wanted to be that vulnerable or feel that bad again. And it was the best lesson I've ever had in my life, because it doesn't matter who you know or how fabulous you think you are. If you're going to do a party or an event or a club or whatever, you've got to cross the T's, dot the I's. And it was actually the best thing that ever happened, because it never happened again.
So, I mean, I've heard the stories of these celebrity parties that you'd throw, and I mean, we can go into.
one?
I'm happy to go into all those details if you like, but here's my question for you: when did the novelty wear off? So, I mean,
That's a really
has
good question.
it actually worn off? I don't know, because I mean, okay, you've hung with the likes of. I mean, I've done my research a little bit. You've hung with the likes of Robert De Niro, supermodels.
Jack Nicholson.
The best supermodels of the time, like. Who was it? Elle McPherson, Linda Evangelista,
That
all
was a
those.
long time ago.
But
Good question.
at what point in New York?
What's your
anyway-
motivation? I guess you come. Okay.
Yeah, when did the novelty wear off? Like you've seen that many celebrities, you've seen pretty much everything that can happen in a nightclub. When did you get to the point where like, you know what, that's it, I'm out, I'm done?
It's not as easy as a question as you might imagine.
Okay.
Let's divide. What's your motivation? Is your motivation to make money, or to be the most fabulous guy on the fucking planet?
Gotcha.
Most of the time, being the most fabulous guy on the planet doesn't translate into making a living. When you build and open, and it's a complicated one. I think you go through stages in your life, and restaurateurs and club owners and club promoters should listen very carefully to words of wisdom. My motivation when I started doing clubs and parties was never money. My motivation has never been money. I come from nothing. I had nothing. I mean, suddenly I'm partying. I'm making a living out of partying. That's allowing me to travel. Suddenly there's a jet, there's a boat. I got Ferraris, I got Rolls Royces, I got fucking houses in the Hamptons. Incredible. I don't think I've ever believed that it actually all happened or was true, and that the club was full of supermodels, and I'm the man to go to. And it was great. It was wonderful. Yeah, no doubt about it. For 20, 25 years, my motivation was never money. I wanted to make everyone have a good time. I just couldn't also believe I was getting paid to do this fucking shit. I was getting paid to party, and I had a jet and a boat and a Rolls and a Ferrari. In fact, I had about 15 Ferraris.
So it was more just you want to have fun. And
I wanted to sustain a lifestyle.
Okay.
And the lifestyle was, it all kind of, it was never, I wasn't sitting there thinking, how much money am I going to make tonight? I was thinking, where's my next party? How can I get there? It'll be better to fly private than it is this. Am I going to sail from here to there? It's better to have my own boat. Do I want to go to the Hamptons? Yes, I want a 458 convertible. So I had all of it. And I don't say that like arrogantly or boastfully. I laugh at it, honestly, with all my heart. I've always been so panicked about how I'm going to pay the rent the next day, even when I've got millions.
How interesting.
Or the next moment when I fuck it up, I got nothing. I've got the hottest club on the planet. And the next day I've got the absolute not hottest place on the planet, and Amy or Noah or one of my competitors in New York has got the hottest place, and my place is fucking empty.
Right.
Eventually you kind of wise up. And what happened was in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, there was about 4 or 5 of us that basically had all the hot clubs, and we went to have the hot clubs. We had the hottest clubs in New York, which means we were running the best events in Cannes, Monaco, Grand Prix, Fashion Weeks, Milan, Paris, London. I was in Russia a lot, which we don't want to get into, but I spent a lot of time in Russia and developed relationships in Russia with the good guys, the bad guys, and everybody else that are still my family now, but we don't have to go there. But at some point, when I'm there and my partners are there, as the hottest Lotus, 777, Mansion, Greenhouse, the hottest clubs on the planet. Every night's the Oscars. I mean, who do you want to talk? Everyone was there every night. At some point, that pain and suffering, those glory moments that lasted for a year or 18 months, there's only one place you can go from being number one, and that's number 2.
Yeah.
and eventually,
how did you take that?
It's a brutal awakening and realization, but also an enlightening moment where you don't have to be the hottest guy on the planet. So if you match guys or girls with a desire to be loved, wanted, be the hot person of the moment, which I managed to propagate for about 25, 30 years, which is great. Do you want to be loved? Great for the moment. Do you want to be feared? Yes, I was a godfather, and we don't have to get into that, but that's the fucking reality. Nobody got clipped that didn't deserve to be clipped. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, can we get into it? No, I'm just. Yeah. No, let's not get into it.
I mean, we had the mafia, we had the Russians, we had the Siberian, we had the Italians, we had the fucking Vietnamese, we had everyone, we had the Latin, we had everyone, but we always managed to find a fine balance, and I never crossed the line. In all honesty, that's why I never went to jail, never got busted for taxes, none of it. But let's move beyond that and just say that being the hottest club on the planet can only be the not hottest club on the planet, and that is a huge smash to your ego, and then somebody else's club's hotter than you, and everyone's kissing your ass. You got every supermodel, you got every celebrity, and then suddenly they're not with you anymore. 1 minute they're yours, and next minute they're around the corner, and what you've got is a lineup of like Mookie Mooks waiting at the fucking door. At some point, I had to listen to my older generation of guys who have done New York before I did.
Okay.
I said, Mark, one day, you may be the hot guy right now, but you're not going to be hot forever, and your age is going to creep up, and there's a new generation. So you've got to learn to develop the new generation and make them the superstars, and happily and gracefully move on and make money.
Gotcha.
Or at least make enough to make something. So you're not fighting to be the hottest place, and having the hottest place also means that I would build a club, of which I built maybe 40 or 50 nightclubs and done thousands of events around the world. I would go the extra mile, spend more money on a club or an event that would absolutely guarantee I would never make money.
Gotcha.
But fuck, it was the greatest party. And then came the generation after I opened up we had a club called Life in New York City on Bleecker Street, where we had 15 to 20 young, educated. They weren't street kids. They were brown or university educated business guys that looked at what we were doing, took our model of promoters and design, and just went to Vegas and copped $100 million for it. So I look now at the next generation of the leaders and the money make from Ibiza to Tulum, but mainly New York, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles, of which, shout out Noah, shout out Jason, shout out Mark, shout out fucking, Richie Akiva, shout out fucking, all of them, where these kids just made more money than we ever dreamed of. At the same time, everyone will always look back at my generation, or our generation in New York, and say, New York will never be what it was there. And at that point, when these kids came up, Ronnie Madras, shout out Ronnie, I love you. Shout out Treyway, shout out Brooklyn, shout out Harlem, shout out fucking South Bronx, babe. It is that at some point when I sat there and I, stopped partying and stopped doing drugs, and I was like, and I started a juice company, it became a fucking $150 million company. What am I going to do in New York City?
So what prompted that?
I got sober.
Okay.
And I was, and it's a,
So what got you to sobriety?
I just couldn't do any more fucking coke. It's just I was working 24 hours a day. My wife had left, and I helped her pack.
Did you hit a rock bottom there?
It wasn't rock bottom. I was wealthy. I still had all the toys.
I'm not talking about like material stuff. Like, okay, that was still there, but maybe physically,
spiritually, I'd hit rock bottom, and. Yeah, you bet. Look, it's not a secret. I just shouted it in the New York Times. I was just like, I sat there and my girl was just like, like I was trying to. I was just sick of fucking not sleeping and working 20 hours a day, and all these young kids, all these hungry young business kids who were not doing coke, who were just like, we're about the money. And I'm like, but look at the clubs. They were all my young promoters. There's 20 of them, and they were my apprentices. And I love them all, and I still love them all. And I talk to them all the time. I was like, guys, you guys are gonna. I spent $6 million to build a club, and it's the fucking greatest place on the planet. And if some rich guy shows up at the door with 10 guys and wants to give me $50,000 for a table, I ain't giving you a fucking table. But these guys will take that table, and 50 like him, and their nights will be like $1 million night in Vegas. And eventually I had to say, you guys aren't doing drugs. You guys are great. It's you've taken what we started with a business of promotion, like skateboarders, and you've just turboed the idea. And at that point I was like, it's time for me to leave gracefully out of New York with my respect.
So it sounds to me like you were more passionate about creating an awesome scene.
Exactly.
And to be honest, I'm just listening to you, Mark.
It was never about the money.
I'm listening to you now, Mark, and I can see a lot of you've still got a lot of passion for that scene.
Absolutely.
Like good music, good vibes, good scenes. Yeah.
Yep.
And like, how is that like now in your sort of older years? I mentioned in your intro that you've got the best job on earth as the ambassador for fun at one of the best nightclubs in Bali, right on the cliff at Uluwatu.
Let me just clarify.
It's
not one of the best clubs in Bali. I think Omnia, actually, right now is probably one of the best venues on the planet. Actually,
why? And why do you say that?
I have. Well, there's a couple of questions there. One is, why do I enjoy doing it? And the question, and the thing is that for the first time in my life, it's not my entire responsibility to buy you, get some cigarettes. I need them all, bro. How about? I'm not giving you Bayou. I want a cigarette. This is Bayou.
Hey Bayou, abang ke bar pack.
Silakan bar.
Satu lagi
cigarette mo bro merah. That means one more of those cancerous Indonesian cigarettes. Along with my
why do you feel that way?
Okay, gosh, when you're an owner, and let's look at the process of opening a club, or a restaurant, or any business. You have a vision, you have a dream. It's terrifying. you come up with a concept. You then have to, thank you, darling. It takes big balls or big coconuts or whatever you are, male or female, to go out and design, create, find a location, raise the money, and open a venue.
Yeah.
That's just the beginning, and then
make it work.
I mean, who wants that? So for all my life, my passion and I want to. Okay, gosh, I could talk for hours about it, but there's something sick about working weeks or months or days, 24 hours a day, and having a vision to create a party or a venue.
Yeah. And
just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, at one moment of the night, when you've got 2,000 people in absolute fucking ecstasy, and you're on the microphone, or you're blasting the nitrous blaster, or you're on the whatever, and you're just looking and saying, you guys have no fucking idea what went into making this moment. Yeah. But I'm looking at everyone, and you're in tears. All of you are in tears, because this is a moment you're going to remember for the rest of your life.
Dude.
That makes me cry, and that makes all the broken marriages, the heartache, the shootings. I mean, it makes it all worthwhile. It's almost sick that I can almost push it down to weeks or months, even for a party. It's that 5 minutes of ecstasy that makes it all worthwhile.
Oh man, dude! Like, you're creating lifelong memories for people. That's what it just dawned on me. That's what you're passionate about. Like,
it's never
just the
been
way
about
you were
the money.
Speaking about that. I could just see the sincerity.
I'm doing it right now.
You're addicted to that.
I'm addicted to it. And look, and I love, and what's beautiful about what's going on here in Bali, and let's focus on here now. Look, I have managed to. I got the restaurants, I got the farms, I got my wall. I've got a lifestyle that I've created or just manicured into this amazing lifestyle. Omnia Bali was a big decision for me to sign on to it. It was I love this island more than I can ever explain to you. I wake up and almost cry every morning because I actually wake up as opposed to not having slept for weeks. I love Bali. I'm very proud of this. I'm very proud of what we're doing, of our somewhat position as ambassadors of this island worldwide, which we are. But I also had a big moral decision with Omnia to say, do I want to get behind, support, and be a part of a giant club on a cliff that's made of concrete in Uluwatu? And where is Bali going? And how do I fit into that? And how do I promote this venue with these amazing young men who were, part of my crew when I was growing up and who'd done really good and went to Bali, that I kind of handed the baton over to when I was. It just got to a point where I was like, what more can I do in New York City? I'm not partying anymore. I'm not doing drugs. It's their generation. I don't want to be that fucking guy in the corner, grandpa. I was the godfather, and I want to leave with my head high. So I left with my head high. And I love that because I didn't leave any doors open. I paid my taxes. I never fucked anyone in my life, and I get mad respect from everyone around the world right now, which is wonderful, and I'm really proud of that.
Are you content right now?
Content. I'm the happiest guy. I've never been as happy in my life. Damn, I know. I'm almost terrified.
I can tell
of how happy I am. But I also have a responsibility, and I feel a responsibility that. Look, we are in Bali. Bali's changing. It's been changing for the past 35 years I've been coming here. So as an advisor who has friendships and relationships that go back a long time, like we did in New York, I got the same friendship relationships here. The good guys, the bad guys, ups, downs, left, right, cops, this, gangsters, whatever. I want everyone to love and respect this island. I want, as a community leader, along with some of the other restaurant and boule, like John is doing, Bamboo Window. There's some really good community leaders here, and we have a responsibility. It's not about money. It's about rolling with the punches, and working with Bali to be realistic, not idealistic, and say, look, Bali is where it's going. You know, there's more and more big groups and big companies coming here. You can ignore them, or you can work with them to make them better. So whether it's like minimizing the amount of tourism that comes here, making everyone eco-friendly conscious. Our restaurants are all eco-friendly, no glass, no plastic, all glass, no straw. We have a part to play here, and with all my heart, I wake up in the morning and I turn off the air conditioner and I open my doors and I cuddle my wolves and I listen to the birds singing, because I've never heard that before, you know. I never had that. I've been up since 7 all night and I'm fucked up, and the sirens are starting, the construction's coming, the garbage trucks are coming, and I hate myself and I hate everybody else, and I got to go do another 24-hour club day. I managed to escape New York with my head and my reputation high. I look in the mirror every day and check myself to see, am I a good guy? Have I done the right thing? What's my motivation? How can I be motivated by the wonderful people that I'm surrounded by here in Bali? I look at the world's troubles, whether it's Trump or Bolsonaro or all the political guys that I know very well after midnight, and I'm like, how can we make this world a little better? And it sounds all fucking kumbaya, and I'm not that kumbaya guy, but I love Bali. I love Bali so much.
So do I.
My life, you know.
It saved your life.
And I think that we can lead. Look, we can lead by inspiration, and I get inspired by the sisters, by my plastic bags, and one day at a time. And Bali's not perfect, and yes, there's plastic, but one day at a time we can. And I really, with all my heart, think that, look, you don't have to like me. It's fine. I'm okay with that. But no one can ever say I fucked them. And I'm a rough and tough guy, and I'll be a good guy. I can be a really fucking bad guy too. But
is that worth more than money to you?
I don't care about money. I'm barefoot right now. I wear a sarong and a t-shirt every day of my life. I got wolves. I don't care about. What am I going to do? Drive a Ferrari down Sunset? I don't care about that. I am so grateful that over the years, Bali has given me a breath of fresh air. It's put sunshine in my soul. And when I look at the whole world right now, Bali's probably the best place on the fucking planet to be.
Because I feel it too, Mark.
Yeah, you do. This is why we're drawn here.
What's your analysis of that, though? Like, there's a magic here, and I've spoken about it with a bunch of people, and I feel it. I've never felt it anywhere else, and it's actually sort of ignited this spirituality in me that I've never experienced before.
I could give you a really quick analysis.
What is yours? I'm curious.
Honestly, I think that having a drug-free Bali is probably the best thing that's ever happened in the planet.
Those staunch laws.
And look, I'm not an angel. I've done it all. But if you look at Ibiza, Tulum, you look at this one, that one, drugs are epidemic everywhere.
Yeah.
And Bali is not a drug-fueled culture.
You don't see junkies on the street.
You
see drunk tourists.
I'm not getting down on people who party because because suddenly I realise I don't want to party anymore. But you just don't have that. Bali's become a healthy. Look, you can drink, you can go to day clubs, you can do this, you can do that.
Yeah.
But because we have such strict laws, and recently, obviously there's been. Again, I'm not sitting here and so high. I've done fucking drugs my whole life. I just found a better life without them. Gotcha. And I'll drink a bunch of rosé and get tipsy and go to sleep and wake up tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, listen to the birds, and thank God that I haven't done drugs like I was in New York.
Yeah.
That will it's a healthy, spiritual, wonderful, magical, beautiful, incredible island that is not subjected to the crap that it looks like the rest of the world is. For me, honestly, I speak to the whole world. Like, I'll go home now and speak to fucking every country in Europe and America will wake up at fucking 9 o'clock. I'm plugged in 20 hours a day right now because I need to do that. For me, in the entire planet, with role models, whether it's Bamboo Window, whether it's John, whether it's the the Bye Bye Plastic Bag Sisters, whether it's Sophie Digby's, Yak Magazine, this, that. It's just, there were incredible people. And you know what? Everyone who's around the world who's looking, and you know, some people are plugged in internationally.
Yeah.
You know, I am plugged in internationally. I know who's looking at my Instagram, my Facebook, and the rest of it. Everyone is like, my God, do you guys really live like that? I'm like, actually, yes, we fucking do. It's incredible.
Now that you know
get that, right?
Now that I do. Now that you know what you know about life, do you feel like it's at the moment in this time, it's the epicenter?
Bali?
Yeah. In terms of creativity, progressive thinking.
I think that the world is at an incredibly complicated, terrified place. I think that certain people, I won't even get into Trump and this and that. Trump was one of my partners in New York. I know Donald very well. It's
just to hear that statement.
I still have to go back to America, so I'm not going to fucking go there. I know Donald very well. What amazes me is I think that, and we can probably recap it like this. Look, Indonesia is not an easy country. I think we have an amazing president. I think he's, Jokowi has absolutely managed to take Indonesia to the next obvious level beyond all the wonderful and terrible and up. And I'm not even going to get into fucking Sukarno and all the rest of it, but of course we know everybody. But I think that Indonesia and especially Bali is at an incredible crossroads in time right now. I think the world is at an incredible and terrible crossroads in time, but something has to give. I think it's going to get uglier before it gets better. And when I look around the world, and I'm in touch with Tulum, with Bifa, Scandinavia, Russia, I mean, I'm in touch with everybody. I think right now, from what I'm seeing, and I know people in every country across the planet right now, South America, Costa Rica, I mean, everywhere. Everyone is like, really? Do you guys really live? Is that like just Instagram and Facebook?
What do you say to them?
I say, in all honesty, I mean, yes. it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I really think that having the base of Bali, Hindu, Banjara spirituality, the fact that we are not a fucking drug-fueled society, even though I think Indonesia has a big problem coming in villages through shabu from China and all the rest of it, but generally, Bali's, we're not virgins or monks here. We drink like fish, but we're going to go to bed by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Yeah. You know, the whole nightclub scene is, I'm not going to say die, but pretty much die. It's all about day clubs. Yeah. You got all these incredible venues from Canggu all the way to Takuta and Seminyak that are day clubs. You've got incredible. I mean, I think I work with one of the best of them all. We're on a fucking cliff. Like, I mean, have you seen Omnia go off? It's incredible. I laugh, and I don't. Getting back to what my position there, I'm not responsible for the first time in my life for owning, operating, and promoting a club. I actually go there I have responsibilities. I actually go there and have a good time. I go there for choice. I love going to Omnia.
How many nights a week? How many nights a week? I've got to know. Are you down there?
I do no nights anymore.
Oh, okay.
I don't go out at night. Not anymore. I'm in bed by 10 o'clock.
Amazing.
But I do Omnia Saturday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. My schedule now is I do Saturday, Sunday at Omnia. Monday I kind of like, just take a deep breath up in Ulu and go to the beach with my wolves. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I'm a beach garden in the Royal in Canggu. And then Thursday night and Friday I go up to the mountains, to my farms and the projects we have up in the north and the wood. And then I come back. So it's a balance. So it's beautiful. I mean, I think I kind of got the best lifestyle I know of.
So can I just clarify, those farms up in the mountains, you're growing food for your juice press?
In a nutshell.
Or in the raw, or your restaurant?
Bali, in a nutshell. Bali has been, toxified. It was toxified by the big chemical companies that want to get more growth and more more yields out of their rice farming. So they introduced chemicals to make some of the best rice on the planet actually, but they're exhausting the soil. About 3-4 years ago, when I had townhouse and I kind of lost everything. I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost my girl. I lost my cat.
Was this in the last?
That was 4 years ago.
And
I had to reinvent. When I came from New York, I had all these plans to do this and open up clubs around Asia and Australia. And it was just, Bali had a different plan for me, which I now see is absolutely, Bali will bring you to your fucking knees, beat you down, break you down, and if you open your heart. Without sounding all kumbaya, because I'm still
I just can't believe you're saying this, Mark. I don't want to talk about myself at all.
I lost everything. And
are you at peace?
now I'm sitting here.
With it? Are you at peace with it?
I am this is exactly why I came to Bali. I'm the happiest guy on the planet. And so I went into the mountains and I met farmers and I talked to them, and we just started talking about organic growth. And I said, I want to make juice. I want to make good juice. I want to make organic juice. I don't want to put a bunch of chemicals into a bottle, I made great juice in New York. I got one of the greatest juice companies on the planet, and I sold out and came here, and I want to do the same here. But I wanted to do it ethically and properly, and I didn't want to put a bunch of chemical produce into a bottle. So I was like, look, well, just give me a little part of your garden, and I guarantee we're going to buy that from you. And if you can't transport it, I'll arrange the transport. So that started with one, and now we have about 40 to 50 farmers that work with us as a collective. Wow. With the only 100% organic juice and produce in the restaurant, and growing. We've got 4 or 5 more places opening up, and
so like sustainable practices, building soil.
Every other week I go up and do barbecues with my farmers up in the north.
North Bali?
North Bali, Badugal, Kintamani area.
Oh, yeah.
And we love them, and they love us, and if they can't transport, we'll send the transport, and I guarantee that whatever they grow, we'll buy and we'll bring down here. And then as they suddenly their standard that they're getting, we're buying a lot of produce from these guys, and the neighbor says, hang on a second, you guys are getting how much for your fucking beets and your celery and your oranges and your ginger and your turmeric, and they're like, well, how do we get in on that? And so now we've got really good guys that manage all of them. And these people are so poor they don't even have a scooter. So we send the transport, and it's grown.
Yeah.
And now we have a network of farmers that are now dedicating. It was 10%, 20%. Now it's like 50% of the land they're growing organic. And and if they can't do it, we'll show them how to do it. And if they can't transport, we'll So as we grow, they grow, and we're paying them premium, and they're not using middle people. And it's beautiful.
You're giving back.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I get to go walk around in farm fields with these guys, and I just had a beautiful trip where I brought my chef for the first time. I brought our chef here from Beach Garden in the Raw up there, and we did a barbecue for them and their families and their kids, like 50 people. It was fucking awesome. It's beautiful. But then I come back at weekends and have a party weekend in Omnia.
Yeah.
And it's great.
One extreme to the other.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's beautiful to hear, and I'm with you. I love the local people. That's what's kept me here.
Yeah, and look at you. Look, you're at Green School. Green School's reputation around the planet is incredible. John's doing an amazing job. I know the family's doing an amazing job with sustainable bamboo and their work. I really look. Bali had a joint reputation. Yeah, sure. Go to Kuta Legian and see all the plastic in rainy season, but there are so many good people coming to Bali right now, and Bali has become this shining light on the planet. And I got to tell you, I can't think of anywhere else on the planet, really. I challenge you to tell me anywhere on the planet that has everything that we have: nature, this spiritual, people to challenge, infrastructure, hospitals, this, that. It's not perfect, but I can't think of anywhere on the planet that I would rather be in.
Yeah.
And or has everything that we have going on here, or it's not like let's not live as fucking monks in fucking Bhutan, but I want to I want to be kumbaya like 5 days a week, but I want to go and party the weekend.
Yeah.
But without the bad stuff, and I don't think there's anywhere on the planet, and I think a lot of people are seeing that, which is why everyone's coming to Bali.
People love Bali.
People love Bali. It's a good thing. So let's try and keep it nice.
Mark, mate. I think that's almost a nice way to end, bro.
I think so too, sweetheart.
It's been epic. It's been an hour and 28 minutes. I've got sore facial muscles from smiling the whole time, dude.
Well, and Shannon, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. And I love it. I really, we could talk for hours, but I hate that word. We're blessed. But we're blessed. We're blessed.
We are, bro. And mate, listen, I personally identify with so many things you're saying, and I just want to just finish on this. Like,
any other questions you haven't asked that you want to ask?
Look, I mean, I had some questions like, what was your first skateboard? But I don't want to go.
My first skateboard was a surf flyer wood with shitty wheels, and I kept it as like a side trick to do drop-ins years later.
Right.
Next.
Okay, next. Like, these are just really superficial questions. So I'm like,
Go.
I've just got to know. Who was your first sponsor? Was it
Powerflex?
Powerflex, okay.
Powerflex was my.
Powerflex.
Yeah, and they gave me a team shirt.
They're almost like banana boards, weren't they? Like I don't know.
Don't tell Bob Baloo that, he'll kill you. Powerflex was that. They had Powerflex wheels, and he was a Californian company that also distributed Alva, and Powerflex gave me my first shirt. I think I would have blown the guy for a fucking team shirt.
It's all about the status, mate. It's
dude,
all
that
about
Powerflex shirt. Check out. I don't know when this interview is coming out or this podcast coming out, but the next edition of Juice magazine is going to be an eye-opening, reality, honest interview about how we did what we did with Dogtown. Yeah. Jay Adams, Jimmy Plumer, Tony Alva.
And where else? Is there anything else? Like, where else can people find some of the stuff that you do? Your social media.
Google markbakerNewYork.com. Okay. Mark Baker Godfather. Dude, Mark Baker Gangster. Whatever.
I might not be the first person to ever say this. I kind of feel like they should make a movie about your life, bro.
In process.
No shit, really?
Yeah, Brad Pitt wanted to. Blah blah blah.
Bullshit, really? Brad Pitt.
I turned him down. I said, Brad, you ain't tough enough, mate. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm not going to blow my own horn.
I mean, it's like a writer's dream.
I don't. Yeah,
you can't write this. You can't write this shit.
I mean, I think it's all quite normal, but apparently everybody else doesn't. I mean, join a circus, become a skateboard pro, be a gangster collector, whack whack, clunk clunk.
Yeah.
Godfather in New York, and then live happily ever after in Bali, and live with a bunch of wolves. It sounds a bit weird.
And that was one of my questions. I want to make a statement for you. You ready?
But there's a downside.
What's the downside?
Kids, wife.
You feel like you've sacrificed those things?
Oh, no, I've sacrificed. I help my wife pack.
And how do you feel about that?
Always wanted kids. Never had them. Hasn't happened. Probably won't happen. Wife, help them pack. I'm best friends with every ex I've ever had, which is only a handful. But yeah, sure. There's always a price to pay. I always wanted kids. I wanted kids very badly, but it hasn't happened and probably won't at this point. That was a big one. I really, above all things, I wanted. But I'm the godfather to a bunch of kids, and I got my wolves. So
you would be the best fucking godfather uncle in the world.
Dad.
Now I'm gonna make.
Well, that was you hit me low there. You got an honest one. Yes, I always wanted kids. I never had kids. I would never allow myself or anyone to. My life is not normal. It hasn't been normal. I always thought when I moved to Bali it would be normal. And my ex-girlfriend, who I really wanted to have kids with, is having a kid with my best friend now. So yes, it's a little ouch, but it's good. I look at all the good things. I always, had the idea to have, I wanted a little girl, a little son, but that hasn't happened. It probably won't. And my girl is having a kid with my best friend, so back in New York or LA, and I'm okay with it. You know, I look at all the positive in there. That's why I'm going to surround myself with animals and wolves. And
I'm going to make a statement. You ready?
go, mate.
They say that dogs look like their owners.
They think I look like a wolf.
How do you feel about that statement?
I think I look like a wolf.
I'm
okay with
You
that.
do. I hate
You
to
think
say
I look like a wolf?
I've seen photos of you with your dog. You look like a dog.
Don't say dog.
Sorry, excuse me.
You are not an orangutan.
I'm
It's
sorry.
wolf.
I'm sorry. But you look,
Wolf.
and I mean that. I mean this is a sincere.
I take it as a compliment.
Compliment. You're like, you do.
It's true.
I feel like your eyes are the same. People must have said that to you before.
Dogs or animals look like their owners. I agree.
They do.
I'll take that as a compliment.
So maybe your wolves found you.
Ooh.
Did they?
I love my fucking wolves, and the Arctic that's coming in June is going to be beautiful. And
you got another one coming.
Yeah, I got a very special Arctic wolf coming in June.
But what attracts you to what attracts
I
you
fucking love
to
wolves.
animals? Like why? Like have
them-
you always felt a deep?
Oh gosh,
attraction
there's a whole nother. But yeah, come on,
Is it their sincerity, their honesty?
come on with me now and see how my wolves react when I come home, and you'll understand it.
Yeah.
I bite, we snarl, we cry, we bite each other. It's feral. It's wild. It's
Innocent, authentic.
It's innocent, wild, feral, everything. I just know that, you know, when I come home or at 24 hours a day, we're a pack.
Yeah.
And sometimes over life, you know, it hasn't always been that way, and that's okay, you know. It's fine. Look, I'm not crying about it. I would love to have had kids. I really would. That's my that was my dream. But I'm not going to say that word fucking blessed. But I'm lucky to have some incredible, wonderful people in my life that are having kids, and I'm the godfather to their kids. But
you're still on a journey.
I'm still on a journey. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
You said to me earlier that you were surprised that you lived to 20, then you were surprised you lived to 30, then 40.
But let's
So
spin
the
that.
journey-
Let's
the
spin that
journey
and finish
continues.
this off. Let's look at
Okay.
everyone who's in Bali. Who are you that's listening to this that's in Bali? You're obviously not normal. You're the black sheep. That's why you're here in Bali. If you was the norm, you'd still be sitting in fucking Idaho, Austria, Berlin, whatever, and wondering what's on the other side. You've made that choice to come here. You know, you're the black sheep of the family. So respect and mad love to you for coming to Bali and taking the chance and stepping into the unknown, whether you're alone or whether you've had failure or success. And every day Bali will challenge you, girl or boy. You'll have those moments that'll shake you to your core. But all I can tell you as a 57-year-old that's been around the block a bunch of times, it gets easier. Hang in there. Love Bali, respect Bali, and Bali will love you. Once in a while, go to the temple, lay Chanang, understand Bali culture, understand what Chanang and Dupa and culture is here, and understand also that there's a wonderful, and I'm going to finish it with this, one of the greatest expressions ever that you'll ever learn in Bali is Siengada Pode. Siengada Apode, which means about 20 different things, but basically is shit happens. It is what it is. You're having a bad day. Your whole world is rocked. Just take a deep breath. Tomorrow's going to be better. There isn't an explanation for everything on this island. In the West, we're taught that everything has a reason. Everything has to have an answer or a responsibility or someone to blame. Sometimes shit happens. So take a deep breath. Humble yourself. Be respectful in Bali. Put it out there. Get good back. If you act like a dick, it's going to come back and fuck you in the ass. Sing Adapode. We love Bali. Om Swastiastu. Shanti.
Can you teach me how to say that before we go?
Sieng Adapode.
Sieng Ada
Apode.
Apode.
Sing Adapode. I got it tattooed right here.
Oh my God.
And if you say that to any Balinese, they're going to laugh, because sometimes in Bali, when you're like, what the fuck?
Can you say it as a greeting like Om Swastiastu?
Om Swastiastu is a
greeting.
Is a greeting, but Singadapa is more like a shit. It is what it is. Shit happens. It's just like, you know, when shit's going, when you're having a bad day, you just have to say Singadapa, because tomorrow you just can't. Bali has its own way of doing shit, but tomorrow's going to be better. So if you're having a bad day, just say, you know, fucking shut the door, go watch Netflix, maybe put some chanang outside your door, which I recommend to everyone, is to go to temple at least once a week and just understand what Bali's about. Because if you look at Bali and how poor everybody is in certain areas, and they're all smiling at you, you know, your frustration and where's my keys, where's my this, where's that, take a fucking deep. It's like driving a scooter here. There's no rhyme or reason as to how traffic works here. You know what I'm saying? Just Bali has a different way of moving, and if you love Bali, Bali will love you. And I'm almost in tears saying it, because for so long I was, why me? Why this? Why is every bad thing happening? Take a deep fucking breath, kiss and smile at people, sing Adapode.
Mark Baker, it's been an absolute pleasure. High five, brother.
Cheers, you too, Shannon. This has been a real pleasure,
mate. Let's go and have a coffee or something. And
and thank you for your time. And
thank you for your time.
There you go. Love Bali. Bali will love you. I'm Swastiastu. Shanti.
I'm Swastiastu, Park.